Thursday, everybody. Hope your day is off to a great start. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the PHNX Suns podcast. I'm Lindsay Smith. That's Saul Bookman. That's Espo. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
I just realized I was accidentally doing the finger guns when we started, and I will be suspended like John Morant, so I'm going to stop that.
Oh, boy. Well, you did just do it 2 more times as you were explaining what you were doing.
Sorry, Mr. Adam Silver. I will stop. All right?
Are finger guns bad?
I mean, as celebrations in the league, I think they'll give you a tech for it sometimes.
Didn't Mikal do that all season? What is this?
That's
just
a little
three fingers.
Three fingers.
Yeah. What the fuck you think he's pointing
like
at?
Separated.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
He literally pointed it at people.
It's a little, I don't know. But I know they have given text for some of them. I think it depends on, like, maybe are you specifically pointing at somebody? How detailed do you get with your charades? I don't know. Well, guys, we have so many more new rumors to discuss today.
Rumors on rumors on rumors.
Let's start with the 3 newsbreakers from last night and just see if we can piece together this puzzle, right? We'll start with the Woj tweet. Woj said, ESPN sources, the Phoenix Suns are advancing 4 coaches to meet for interviews in the coming days. He named Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, Kings associate head coach Jordy Fernandez, and Suns associate head coach Kevin Young. Okay? 4 names.
That is 4, yes.
We got a tweet from Shams, and Shams said, sources, the Phoenix Suns have narrowed their head coaching search to 5 finalists. He named Nick Nurse, Frank Vogel, Doc Rivers, Kings assistant Jordy Fernandez, and Suns assistant Kevin Young.
Is Frank Vogel giving us a hint here, though? He's holding up 4 fingers. Is he saying this report's wrong?
Maybe.
Could it be?
According to Chris B. Haynes, who we got after these 2 tweets, though, Phoenix has yet to reach final stage of interviewing candidates for its head coaching vacancy and are expected to meet with Milwaukee associate head coach Charles Lee and Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson, sources tell them.
Sources tell me the Phoenix Suns are, in fact, looking for a new head coach, and they plan to sign one before training camp.
I think your source is correct, technically speaking. So this is a lot to unpack here, okay? First and foremost, I do want to put out there that Dwayne Rankin and Gambo have both confirmed Frank Vogel is in the mix per their sources locally.
Did Dwayne? I read the article, and it
he
felt like
put
he was
his name-
rehashing everything that came up last night because it included the tweets and everything.
Yeah,
so.
but it does say, like, he says specifically the Suns have 5 finalists: Nick Nurse, Frank Vogel, Doc Rivers, Sacramento Kings assistant Jordy Fernandez, and Suns associate head coach Kevin Young for their head coaching job. Sources confirmed Tuesday night to the Republic.
Okay.
So that to me sounds like they reached out to their sources. Whether they're the same sources or not remains to be seen. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But per the people they reached out to, or persons or whatever, the Republic sources confirmed that Frank Vogel's in the mix.
Do you remember rumors in high school where they started one way,
Oh, man.
and then they made their way through the school and they
Like a
ended
game of
another
telephone?
way? I kind of feel like this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Some agent's just like, yeah, I'm going to throw out this name too.
This is so fucking stupid. This whole thing is just so damn dumb. Like, you have 3 people with 3 different freaking stories and 3 different, scenarios of how this is all playing out. Nobody knows shit. Nobody knows anything. Oh, this is so annoying.
Okay. Crispy Haynes, yeah, I said crispy, is the guy that I think they may have screwed on purpose because his Isaiah Thomas thing that came out right after Ishbia was, and he had to walk it back. Maybe they screwed with him a bit on this one.
Okay, here's my thing. Can we just have a little bit of fun off the top here? Put on the tinfoil hat.
Yes.
It would appear to me as though there are a handful of different scenarios going on behind the scenes. Either James Jones or Matt Ishbia is trying to figure out who is giving information to who inside their front office, or James Jones is giving information to one, Ishbia is giving information to the other, and a third party is giving information to the third. Or maybe there's like a little bit of feuding going on in there, and so one's leaking this and one's leaking that to throw somebody off the scent.
Yeah, we got a rat. You see a rat?
Am I out of pocket for that?
No, Look,
He's
I
out of pocket for that
Yeah,
fucking voice.
You never seen a
What was that?
mob movie? Where you had 30s mobster. We had a rat. You see a rat. I think they got a rat leaking information.
Nah, see.
You see? Nah.
Lord have mercy.
Like,
There we go. Happy Wednesday.
who do I think is spoke? To me, I think it's all three, honestly.
I mean-
I think all three are just creating chaos.
I mean, listen, I think I would not push it past anybody, especially, listen, if I bought the Phoenix Suns, okay, or if any one of you bought the Phoenix Suns, you're going to want to do things your way.
Mhm.
And if you put out information or you say things in a meeting and then you find out it got leaked to the media, at some point you're going to be like, all right,
Who's leaking?
who the fuck is
what?
doing this,
Yeah.
right? Which I think is fair. Whether that's James Jones or if it's Matt Ishbia or it's somebody around in that room some way, I'm okay with it. I think that there is some validity to what you're saying. I don't even think that's tinfoil hat. I think that they're just like, let's throw three things out there and see which one actually gets traction, because I have a feeling we're going to find out who our narc is.
Is there another option where James Jones actually thinks they're in a different position right now in terms of the search, and Matt Ishbia thinks they're in a different spot in this search? So like,
I mean,
I hope it's not that.
I
but-
would like to think it's not that, but at this point, having been a Suns fan for a while, and I know it's a new regime, but still, it wouldn't shock me.
Is
It
Isaiah
wouldn't shock
Thomas
me.
somewhere off in the in some hotel here in Phoenix conducting his own interviews? What is going on?
Well, you mentioned Isaiah Thomas, and Zero Dark 30 in the chat said, keep laughing about Isaiah Thomas. Somehow he always gets into a position of power. Here's the thing. We might be joking about Isaiah Thomas, but I don't think anybody in here doesn't think that Isaiah Thomas has some sort of influence at the very least
No.
when it comes to the Suns right now. He may not have
Definitely
a
does.
specific title within that organization, but he is being talked to. He's been asked his opinion on things. Like, him and Matt Ishbia are like BFFs, basically. Of course, they're going to have those conversations. It's just to what degree is what's in question.
Well, and they're not hiding it either.
No.
They sat next to each other when he was right next to Ishbia when Jokic elbowed him. They're not
Yeah.
hiding it.
Isaiah Thomas has a role within this organization, whether people are going to admit it or not, or if it's going to be an official, title or not. Like, apparently he has some pull, some kind of way with this organization. I don't, based on his history, I'm not on board with it because he hadn't done shit. Like, the guy has not accomplished a damn thing in his entire NBA career post playing. Not a thing. Not as a coach, not as an executive, not as a president of basketball operations, not in New York, not in Toronto, not in Indiana. Like, you go down the list, he hasn't done anything. So why this guy would have that much pull in this organization is beyond me, because what advice could he possibly be giving you that is worth listening to based on his track record?
Hey, I don't agree with you.
Okay.
He bought the Continental Basketball Association for $10 million
And then ruined it.
ran it into bankruptcy. That's something. And then he also bailed out the Suns by taking Stephon Marbury's and Penny Hardaway's contracts so they could sign Steve Nash. So he accomplished two things. It just wasn't in help of the places he was employed at.
Again,
I mean, it could be a tax write-off, I
The-
guess.
the one thing that I'm going to go to the absolute mat for
Okay.
is that, and this is no pun intended to Matt Ishbia, but we all want to know that we have competent leadership, ownership in our organization. Okay. When you start parading a guy like Isaiah Thomas around, that immediately creates doubt within the fan base and within people that have seen Isaiah operate at different levels. And you got to be careful with that. Right now, as a Suns fan, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, do these guys know what they're doing? Because this isn't the answer. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt until everything works out and you see
Proven
how everything
otherwise.
plays out. Okay, I think they started off great with the Kevin Durant trade, and they're not afraid to make moves. But I just want to caution the movement of this organization moving forward, when you start doing things and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of harmony. One is Ishbia pulling the ropes. Is it James Jones? Is it Isaiah Thomas behind the scenes? Like, that's the confusion that I do not like, because I want to know that we have a solid foundation in terms of who is making these decisions, to which nobody can honestly say 100% it's this guy or this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you, but I think Ishbia probably has a group of people helping advise him as well, because he's very close with Tom Izzo as well, a well-respected basketball mind. So my hope is, if he is listening to outside voices like Isaiah Thomas, there are multiple outside voices he's listening to and saying, okay, here's what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? And I also still think this is a feeling out process with James Jones. If he doesn't think, his seat's hot, I think he's probably in the wrong mindset. I think his seat will remain hot for a while.
But like, I feel like that's the most unfair of hot seats, right? Like, if Ishbia is the one that's pulling, making all the moves and making all the decisions, and you're not really letting James Jones do any of that, then you might as well just get rid of him now.
Oh, I'm not saying.
But that wouldn't look good.
Right?
Like optics, you have to have
because
a
what's
general
his
manager
role
in place.
if that's not the case?
I think that's been overblown. It's probably groupthink right now, which also isn't the greatest thing in the world. But what I think Ishbia is doing is he's involved because he wants to know how James Jones operates. He wants to know what this guy thinks from a basketball perspective, because he inherited him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know the way he operates in an off season, and he probably wants to see it. And ultimately, just like with the disgraced former owner, Matt Ishbia has the final say. He signs the damn checks. So anybody that gets offered a contract, Matt Ishbia's got to approve it. So I think that's more of what's going on than Matt Ishbia has put James Jones in a broom closet and he's taken everything.
Right. Yeah. So Jan Paul in the chat said, you guys complained when Sarver was here and you complain when Ishbia is here. And those are two totally different conversations. Robert Sarver was a whole can of worms that, if you want to know all of that, go back and watch the shows from them. We're not going to rehash those out. But when it comes to Matt Ishbia, I don't think that we're upset with Matt Ishbia at all at this point. I think there are just things that, based off of the previous regime, you can point to and be like, those kind of seem similar, and we just want to keep an eye on it to make sure that it's not the same thing as far as who is making the final decisions. Yes, Matt Ishbia 100% should and deserves to be in the conversation in those rooms, but it's a slippery slope based off of what we saw with Robert Sarver, where he was vetoing things in those rooms, where he was telling people, no, you're drafting this person instead of that person. And that's where things get a little bit scary. And I think we're just keeping an eye on it. We're not saying Matt Ishbia is that or isn't that. It's just, again, we've given the benefit of the doubt still, but we're keeping an eye on how things are progressing, because there's a lot of change that's happening.
I want to be also very, very clear. I am not really on the anti-Matt Ishbia shtick at all, 1,000,000%, not even close. I'm more of like, I don't want Isaiah Thomas to have a big role within this organization. That's the one thing. I think Matt Ishbia is doing exactly what I would be doing if I was the owner. Like, I want control over my organization. I want to know who's doing what and how they're doing it. I want to know all the details, because I haven't been around these people ever before. And so it's absolutely within his purview to be able to do all this and that. I have no issue with that. The moves, and hell, if he wants to make the moves, he wants to make the call in the room, go for it. It's your organization. I don't really care. The Isaiah Thomas thing, to me, because of his track record and what he's done and all the other allegations that are accompanying it, like, you kind of just left something that was similar to some degree previously with Sarver. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to bring that back in? And everybody had a very significant reaction when it was rumored that Isaiah Thomas was going to be a part of the organization. So, listen, it's not just about Matt Ishbia in this regard at all. No. To me, it's all about Isaiah Thomas, and I just don't want him to be part of this.
It's just coming from a place of caring for, one, we all put so much time and effort into this team and this organization that we love watching and rooting for. And a lot of us know people in that building, and even the people who don't know people in that building, you still have a level of, hope and desire that they have a healthy, good working place.
Yeah, and
That's all. And we're not saying that it's not. I'm just saying.
I'm pro Matt Ishbia. His move that he supposedly had the influence on was getting Kevin Durant. I'm not going to bemoan anybody for getting a superstar, and I got to see how the rest of this plays out. I understand the concern with Isaiah Thomas, but if he doesn't have an official role in this organization, I'm not gonna panic, because if I was a billionaire that just bought the Suns and I happened to know Charles Barkley because I grew up idolizing him, you're damn right I'd be asking Charles Barkley what he thought about things, because I had a previous relationship there. And the Isaiah Thomas stuff, I get his track record as a coach and running organizations. But if you look into some of the New York Knicks stuff, supposedly his part in the lawsuit was because Stephon Marbury was having a sexual relationship with an intern, and he got involved, wrapped into the lawsuit because he was the coach, and they said he didn't have organizational control. So there's all sorts of factors, and I get it, and that's not a defense of Isaiah Thomas in any way, but there's just a lot of facts and things with it. I don't want him a part of the organization, but I'm not going to freak out until he has a title in the organization.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got way off track there. So let's get back into coaching updates. But first, it is Wednesday. If you haven't logged into your BetMGM app, make sure you do that to claim your bonus bet that is on the house. All you have to do is log in and you will automatically receive a bonus bet. It does expire after 72 hours, so make sure that you use it sooner rather than later. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, make sure you do that and use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, you will get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, as long as you're using that bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details, and now you can listen to Shane talk about the
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
And listen, we all know NBA basketball is starting to slow down a little bit. We don't have games every single night on the NBA side of things anymore, but there are still a lot of really great things that you can watch out there on Fubo TV. They have 140 plus live channels of sports, shows, movies, news, and more. It is fantastic. They also have 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge. I am absolutely loving Fubo TV, because I think it's one of the easiest apps, like for mobile phones, than all of the other streaming services combined. Like I always have Fubo TV up on my phone while I'm doing other things, just watching shows, sports, games, whatever it may be on Fubo TV. It's honestly, like, I'm being for real when I say this, I think it's my favorite streaming site.
For real.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. I just hope they don't go the HBO Max route
and make you download two.
Drop part of the name, because FU isn't a good streaming app name,
I might get on board with that
but
one.
I love it, and I can watch my baseball. I can watch everything. I love Fubo TV.
You can watch your favorite sports or shows with Fubo TV, and if you use the link in the description of the show to sign up, you'll get 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. So make sure you check it out. All right, let's talk about some of the names that were listed in all of these reports. Obviously, we got to kind of take everything with a grain of salt, but we're going to pick a couple to discuss, okay?
Oh, where's the trash can so I can throw up at some of these names?
First and foremost, we're going to talk about Kevin Young, because he seems to be a very hot name on the market right now. And Bill Simmons thinks he might be the guy for the job.
Can I tell you who's going to get the Suns job?
Who do you hear?
From the producers of I Told You Bronny was going to USC 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be Kevin Young.
Oh, okay. So they're going to hire their assistant from their own staff.
My question is, what's the Nick Nurse destination?
I think it's
we already lost
Milwaukee.
Houston.
Milwaukee,
Quinn
right?
Snyder's off the table. He's in Atlanta. So you think Milwaukee?
Yeah, I think so. I think Nick Nurse is the type of coach that the Bucks. The question is, that the Bucks give it to Nurse, but the amount of adjustments he makes, he's a micromanager. That's what a Giannis-led team needs. It's the kind of the opposite of Budenholzer, who is great at setting a foundation. And
Okay.
Yeah, we don't care about the Bucks.
So Bill
Or
Simmons thinks
Budenholzer.
it's going to be Kevin Young. What do you guys think?
I tend to agree. I don't know that it's the right hire. I'm not saying I'm necessarily in that camp, but I start connecting dots and I think we get there, right?
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense. And part of it is Devin Booker. And he had a quote that he said earlier this year. He can do stuff on the court, and he's a mastermind with the X's and O's and a game scouting and knowing teams. So having the balance of both has been a big boost for my career. Talking about Kevin Young, right? To me,
The balance of both, was he talking about like the mentorship, the leadership from Monty,
Yeah.
and then the X's and O's from Kevin Young?
yep, and
Okay.
he loves it. I talked to two players who have played for Kevin Young at various times. Basically, they said he is great with the players. He's an amazing offensive coach, and just a lot of praise. The other player said that they love Kevin, a great guy and a great coach. A lot of people liked him around the team, works hard, and his game plans and attention to detail are flawless.
Wow.
So you start looking at it, and I really feel like Kevin Young is the leader in the clubhouse here, with the players liking him. We're hearing all sorts of names, but I feel like we're going to hear in about a week. We're really happy to welcome Kevin Young as our head coach after an exhaustive search where we talked to dozens of coaches, including ones with championship experience. We feel Kevin is the guy to take us to the promised land and win a championship here with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
I just don't know enough about Kevin Young to really make an assertion of whether he should or should not be the coach. And I think it's wildly unfair of a lot of people to sit there and say no or yes based on nothing. Like Espo talked to players, and that's so now he's created his own thought about whether or not he thinks it's worthy, and that's cool. But for a lot of us who have not talked to players, who have not talked to anybody that really knows anything behind the scenes outside of maybe a couple quotes here and there, does a quote do it for you? Like, I don't know. Like, I want to know how he is in the heat of the moment. Can he draw up stuff, to kind of take advantage of this, and this? And from your account, yes, he can. But again, I don't know. I just don't know.
I've also heard he's very fiery. Polar opposite to Monty, where he won't be afraid to get on players or get on refs and these kind of things. Again, I'm not claiming I think
sure
that he's the guy. I'm just connecting a lot of dots, and when you hear these kind of things, I feel like this may have been set up for Kevin Young to take this. Think about it too. The assistant coaches were never fired. Only Monty was relieved of his duties.
Well, typically that's pretty normal, though, is it
until
not?
the new coach comes in.
Until the
and
new
gets his own
coach comes
staff.
in and they get to make the decision.
Yeah,
And you got some good quality assistant coaches on that staff. And even if you're the new coach, you're not necessarily going to come in and clean house.
No.
Like Mark Bryan's a very good coach. Like he's done a really good job.
Every single big man speaks so highly of Mark Bryan.
Jared Jack on that staff. There's a lot of good names. Do you know what I think we may see is Kevin Young as a head coach, and maybe a guy like Frank Vogel that came kind of out of nowhere in these interviews as a lead veteran assistant, maybe, and they're getting to know him, and maybe that's the offer they make to him, because he's the name that came out of nowhere, kind of was a surprise last night, wasn't in Woj's original report.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's kind of the thinking here, and that's pure speculation. That's not on any sourcing, but I just feel like we're headed in that direction.
So here's
real quick before you get to that point, there's a comment just above from Triple B that says, I can't think of a rookie head coach winning a championship in their first year. I could think of one, and it was because of an injury, but it was Paul Westphal with the Lakers. He won a championship. Paul Westhead, sorry, that first year.
Didn't Pat Riley with the Lakers too?
Pat Riley, yep.
Did Steve Kerr win his first year?
Oh, he did win his first year.
Was Nick Nurse's first year when they won?
Ooh, I thought that was his
it's
second
first
year.
or second.
Yeah.
Like there are examples of guys coming in when the situation is set up to win and doing it. So that doesn't shock me. Somebody in the chat said, I think it was Jay said, Monty is Ted Lasso and Kevin is Coach Beard, which is an interesting way to look at it. So.
Okay, so with what you shared, Espo, about what you heard from the players, and then this quote that you shared from Devin about the X's and O's, it makes me feel at least a little bit better with that information. Obviously, because Saul, to your point, we have very limited information on Kevin Young, but the information that we do have now from today's show, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm not saying I'm fully on board with it, but I'm feeling better if the Suns do decide to go with Kevin Young, because when we were talking before the show, I'm like, the two things that I would want to check the boxes are, do you know how to work with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on your team as far as like their offense and creating an offense around those two? So that's check number one. And then the check number two is, I don't need a coach who can motivate Devin Booker or Kevin Durant, because those guys are self-starters. They motivate. They don't need motivation. They just wake up with motivation. But everybody else behind those two, I need a coach who can get on them and get them fired up and get them ready to go. And if what you're saying is true about Kevin Young being a little bit more fiery, then I think that kind of checks that box a little bit too, because clearly with some of the guys who were on this team, more of the gentler approach, the wisdom type of fathering kind of approach wasn't working as well. Maybe you do need somebody with a little bit more edge to you.
Well, and there's a lot of people that are concerned in terms of he hasn't been a head coach before. That's not true. He has been a head coach in the G League.
Which didn't he replace Nick Nurse?
He did
for that team?
with the Iowa Energy when he was the head coach there. He was also the head coach of the Delaware 87ers. Just a bizarre name. But yeah, so he does have some head coaching experience, plus the, what was it, 2 games this year that he filled in for Monty?
And he won both of them.
Technically, he has been an NBA head coach interim, filling in there. So I'm not as concerned about that as I could be if it was a guy, literally the Earl Watson situation, where it was like, hey, he's kind of been an assistant for a few minutes. Same with Lindsey Hunter. It's not that.
Yeah. All I'm saying right now is if Kevin Young is the guy, I will 100% be able to talk myself into Kevin Young being the right choice. I can talk myself into it.
I'll tell you sometime next May or June.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's going to be correct. I'm just saying I can talk myself into it.
I just have so many questions about the first time head coaches. There's always so many questions about them. Like because a lot of people don't know what they're all about. They haven't seen them in action. They don't see them behind the scenes in practice. Where that's usually where they make all their money is behind the scenes. Like the motivational stuff, the side talks with players, or the advice to players that tell you like, okay, this guy really knows what he's talking about. We don't get access to that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of questions about that. And then the retreads, to me, those are easier to deal with because you've seen them in action. You've seen what they've done with the pieces that they've had. And some of them you're like, okay, maybe we can give it a shot. And some of them you're like, hell no, stay as far away from my franchise as humanly possible. Doc Rivers.
I mean, yeah,
Doc Rivers is going to get this head coaching job, and I'm going to be completely fucked.
Yeah, well, no, you've got the greatest Doc Rivers impersonation, so we'll
you
be good
do.
there.
That was pretty solid.
Just got to get a win, Just got to get a win.
So we'll be all right.
Not Blake's fault. It's not Blake's fault.
Oh my goodness. All right, we'll continue this conversation here in just a little bit. But if you're looking for dinner tonight, Illegal Pete's is your place to go.
Illegal Pete's. It's really great. Margaritas.
I was out last night, and it was actually really nice to be out on a patio. So I've told you guys this before, but take advantage of patio season while you still can.
Do you not have a patio at your house?
No, I'm saying when you're out on the patio at a bar or at a restaurant, like there's limited amount of days where you can be out on the patio.
Patio season ended like 3 weeks ago for me.
That's not true.
The last
night was
79
really
degree
nice. Last night was nice outside, so you can still find some good days to go out and sit on a patio. And Illegal Pete's has an elite patio. They also have full menu, bowls, tacos, salads, burritos, nachos, a full bar. They've got some of the best margaritas you can get your hands on. And of course, happy hour from 3 to 6 p.m. every single day. So stop into either their Tucson or Tempe location for a house beer bucket for you and the whole crew. You get 5 pints for $15. You can soak up the sun with a loaded burrito and a crisp beer on the patio. Legal Pete's, it's your go-to place for burritos, buddies, and beer. And if you're sitting on the patio, make sure you bring your Shady Rays with you too, because it might be cool outside, but that sun is bright. As bright as you know what. So make sure you get yourself some of the best eyewear that you can get your hands on from our friends over at Shady Rays.
I don't know what, Lindsay. What is this as bright as?
Well, use your imagination.
Okay.
You're a creative guy. I think you can come up with something
bright
clever.
as Lindsay's smile on a trade machine
Oh
Tuesday.
boy. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving you their best deal of the season. If you go to shadyrays.com and use the code PHNX, you're going to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. You can try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. They also have a really solid exchange and return program. So if you're a person who gets nervous about that when you're shopping online, Shady Rays is the best place to go because they'll hook you up left and right.
Hey,
Okay.
Lindsay, I got some news for you.
What?
Illegal Pete's, 2 of the guys stopped by today, and they
Mhm.
gave us some news that I think you'd be interested in.
What is it?
Are we allowed to share said news?
I believe so.
Okay.
Oh
'Cause I
boy.
think it's out.
Well, spit it out now.
Okay, cool. They're introducing a new flavor of margarita.
Ooh.
They're bringing a spicy margarita made in-house.
Oh, nice.
It's called the
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Oh, even
Oh,
better.
That'd honestly be really nice.
They
It
should
was.
name it the Chelsea. That would be pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like spicy margaritas would probably be super delightful. I became allergic to booze before spicy margaritas became a thing. So I've
We can
never
get you a
actually had
virgin
one.
spicy
Like, so
It's
what-
not the
margarita.
same though.
So what happens exactly?
Oh no, that's too TMI,
Yeah.
sir.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like, is it like
To
a little
share
bit
with
of
the whole class?
is it a little bit of headache or like scratchy throat? If
No, she-
that's it, then let's go ham.
She gets
Let's go.
super cranky.
I'll have
Super
an EpiPen.
cranky.
I'll stab you in the chest. Let's go.
Jeez.
With an EpiPen, I said.
It sounds like
I said with an EpiPen. Isn't
I
that
know,
what
I
you have to
heard-
do?
no,
It has to
I
be in the
heard.
chest, right?
It's in the leg.
yeah.
Well,
it's
I
in
wanna
your
do it in
head.
the
It's your
chest.
side.
You're
Well, you're
thinking,
gonna kill
you're
me.
thinking of adrenaline in the chest. Like,
Oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
like Uma Thurman.
Sounds like if the
Like, I got you, Lindsay.
If the booth doesn't kill you, I will. Don't worry. I got your back, girl.
That's if she ODs on cocaine. You gotta give her the adrenaline in the heart.
My bad.
Saw out here watching.
Wrong pen. Man, I'm glad you told me that because man, can you imagine? Somebody's like, "Oh, he's allergic to shrimp. Get his EpiPen," and I just stabbed him in the chest.
Oh my
Like,
god.
oh shit!
Now he's
I thought
dying
that's what
of
you
blood.
do. I'm like,
that's
no, with the leg, you
adrenaline.
asshole! You killed him anyway.
You stabbed him in the heart.
My bad. My bad. my bad. Sorry, Lindsay.
That's our
Alright.
fearless leader, ready to stab us in the heart.
Hey,
whatever necessary.
Hey, I was willing to save your life by any means necessary. I didn't realize I was going to have to reach into your chest to fix your heart.
He was like, listen, I'll send you to God real quick.
So, hey, man.
Frank sent us a super chat, said, who needs a patio? Just grab a Circle K Polar Pop. That's
right.
not today, but you're absolutely right, Frank.
Thanks, Mr. Kaminsky.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you.
Okay. Lord have mercy. Let's talk a little bit about Nick Nurse. Okay, because
Let's do
Nick
it.
Nurse has been a name that's been floated for a while now. Outside of Kevin Young, I feel like Nick Nurse, in my opinion, would be the top candidate. How do you guys feel about why or why not Nick Nurse will be the next Suns head coach?
Would you like to go first, Saul? I've talked a lot today.
Nick Nurse is okay. Again, I have concerns about what he would bring to the table and really his tenure over there in Toronto and how it ended. A lot of bad things that you're hearing about his relationship with players and kind of wearing out his welcome, kind of CP3-ish, if you will. So I don't know. Also, fuck you, chat. I'll wear whatever goddamn pants I want to.
We're well aware.
Oh my God.
They're not even tight. They're fucking baggy as
Look
shit.
what
No,
you did, Emma. You brought up spicy margaritas and then everybody got spicy.
They were spicy from like years ago.
We all turned Chelsea.
I
We
can't
all
help that I
turned
have
on
big
our
muscles in my legs.
Chelsea.
He's King Calf over here, all right?
I'm sorry.
Zay says, I can see your whole calf muscle, Saul.
Oh.
Damn. Nick Nurse. That's what we were talking about,
Yes.
right?
I might need a Nick Nurse if I have an EpiPen. on me.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to put on the tinfoil hat.
Okay.
You guys want to come for a little ride?
Sure, why not?
I don't think Nick Nurse will be the next head coach of the Phoenix Suns because he had some beef with Earl Watson. And I think we have a quote here from the Toronto Star. Nurse and Earl Watson were never going to pal around or hang out away from the arena or the practice facility. It wasn't a huge issue, but it was a thing people around the game noticed. And then there was some other talk that he may or may not have been campaigning for Nick Nurse's job and campaigning for him to get axed during the season, which Earl kind of may have done something similar with Jeff Hornacek. You go, okay, well, why does this matter?
Hold on. To be fair,
Are you
show
gonna
me a
defend
coaching staff that there's not somebody behind those scenes who's trying to leverage something to get a better job.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get Saul's job. I understand, but
I'm just
not.
saying, like, I do
He had my
understand.
job and he gave it up to me.
I do understand that it's not a good look and you don't want that type of stuff in your organization within your coaching rankings, of course, as little of it as possible. But it happens all over the place,
I get it
too.
And if you do it when you're young, fine. You do it multiple times, it starts to become a pattern. I'm not making this is not me passing judgment on Earl Watson. That whatever happens, happens. But there was beef with Nick Nurse, right? And then, which brings me back to a couple years ago, Devin Booker to Crispy Haynes said, "Earl means everything to me." Said, "I credit Earl for a lot. He was one of the early ones in the NBA industry to believe in me to that extent. I think it started with him being my player development coach before he was a head coach. So he watched the work that he put in with me. He was on the court with me, sweating with me, putting in the work with me, and coincidentally happened to end up being my head coach." Devin Booker has a world of respect for Earl Watson. So it sounds like in other comments, he still talks with Earl Watson. If Devin Booker is actually heavily involved in this coaching search, we saw what he said about about Kevin Young. Again, I'm going to connect some dots here. I think that this may be, I'm not that big of a fan of Nick Nurse in this case.
Okay. I'm not saying you're incorrect here. I think there is something to what you're saying, because obviously if you're involved in any way, shape, or form around picking the new Suns head coach, you're going to reach out to your contacts across the league who have connections to that person. You're going to gauge their opinion. But at the end of the day, you do have to formulate your own opinion. So I can guarantee you, at least from my opinion, that if Nick Nurse came in and showed Devin in an interview or whatever, like, here is the plan, and Devin thought that plan would win them a championship, he would be able to look past whatever shenanigans happened between Nick Nurse and Earl Watson. Because even though he values that relationship with Earl Watson, if somebody is bringing something to the table that will directly impact his chances to win a championship, he's going to do that.
No denying that, but I also think when you put that in line with what we heard about locker room issues with some of the players by the end, maybe it gives pause. Like I said, I think the decks may have been stacked in Kevin Young's favor throughout this, but we'll find out.
I don't necessarily agree because, first of all, Devin Booker's a much different player now than he was, 5 years ago when Earl was here. I think the way Earl has kind of gone about his career has been a little shady anyway. Like, he's literally pining for jobs that are not his behind the scenes. And it's been kind of knowledgeable about that. Like, it's been public knowledge that he was doing that. So that's not cool. And in addition to that, like, I do believe, I do agree with Lindsay in terms of Devin Booker taking a look at things for what they are and figuring out, okay, I mean, I've been friends with guys that have had beef with other friends that I've had. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I can separate those two, and that's fine. And we move on. So I don't necessarily think that this would be the nail in the coffin for Nick Nurse, because for everything Devin Booker loved about Earl Watson, Kevin Durant loves about Nick Nurse. And he's gone on record about that too. So I don't know if it's necessarily an end all be all for this.
I don't think it would be the nail in the coffin. I think it's one factor. And if you're leaning towards one guy in this search and Nick Nurse, who supposedly, according to Gamble, wasn't even in this at one point, whether you believe it or not, it could be a factor that makes you take pause. I don't know. It's just something I found interesting when I started diving into things about Nick Nurse, and that was an interesting tidbit.
For as adored as Earl Watson has been to some people, he comes off to me, because I was not behind the scenes. You guys were behind the scenes. You guys know you were with Earl Watson, right? Or was it you?
We both were.
He was an
We both were.
assistant when
And I
you
was
were there.
there when they fired
interim,
Hornacek,
right?
and he took over.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys have more familiarity with Earl Watson. For me, as an outsider, have not worked behind those walls, and I don't see Earl Watson. He comes across as toxic to me, and so from my point of view, he keeps coming up in these things as reasons why, and I'm like, is this really the guy's rep that I want to follow to try and make my next decision as head coach? I don't know if it is.
The irony is, it was the polar opposite when he started there. You didn't really get that. He seemed like a motivator. All these quotes, people were excited about being around him at the beginning. Now, when you get to the end and you look at it and you go, okay, yeah, I see a lot of this. There's drama.
But you also have to think about the things that were happening behind closed doors as well. Because if you really look at the timeline as a whole, if that's how he was in the beginning, what was that thing that happened behind the scenes that made that flip switch?
Switch flip.
Either way.
Yes.
Switch.
Yeah.
What did I say? Switch flip.
You said flip switch.
Well,
Look,
you know what I meant.
I think you and
I'm just saying, I don't think Earl was the right head coach for the Suns in the moment that he was the head coach for the Suns. But I don't think that you could also, unless you know who Earl Watson is and were a part of that space, more than you and I were even, I don't think you could definitively say Earl Watson was this, or that.
Two things. He was the right coach for Devin Booker.
He was,
at the right
yes,
time.
exactly.
And I think we both can attest to this. When you were in that environment with the disgraced former owner,
dude,
it became even the best of us.
Yes.
Could fall into the trap of backbiting and trying to figure out a way to stay employed or move on.
It was do or die. It was eat or get eaten.
Is there something you want to confess today?
Oh, yeah. I got all sorts of people fired just because they want to move up the ladder. You know, I was just like, screw these people. It's time for them to move on so I can move up. You know?
Oh, my goodness gracious. Cesar said, at some point, if you're always surrounded by dysfunction, the problem may not be everyone else. I can't speak to anywhere outside of the Suns, but I feel like at that point in time, when Earl Watson was the head coach of the Suns, there was a lot of dysfunction on so many different levels there. So again, I just feel like you got to kind of like take what that situation was with a grain of salt, knowing that so much shit was happening behind the scenes. And I'm just calling it what it is.
Yeah, and my only point was Devin Booker has a strong relationship with Earl Watson.
Yeah.
Just like Ishbia with Isaiah Thomas. So there's sometimes influence there with people.
Yeah.
So.
All right. If you are watching this from your living room or your home and you are in the mood to spice things up, now that it's summertime, you don't want to be outside as much. You want to be inside where it's nice and cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you need a new couch.
You need to go out and buy some
Maybe
more
you need
furniture.
a new dining table. Maybe you need a new buffet or a TV stand. Whatever it is you're looking for, More Furniture has you covered.
Buffets?
A buffet.
Yeah. It's the people do buffets.
What is a buffet?
It's the table, the skinny table that goes up against a wall, and right.
Yeah, it's got some little
you got the little
drawers.
drawers. Yeah.
About yay big.
Yeah,
Isn't that like
everybody
a
does
bar cart?
buffet.
Long.
Okay.
Isn't that literally just a bar cart?
No.
No.
The fuck do you put on it?
Trinkets.
Trinkets, pictures,
You can
lights,
hang your TV
lamps.
above it. Emma, sweet. we'll return to this conversation at a later time.
We'll teach you how to adult later, all right?
You ain't got to worry about it right now. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to worry about it.
That's our next show. PHNX helps Emma adult.
Save big on the best furniture in the Valley when you head to morefurniture.com. That's morfurniture.com. Also, our friends over at Four Peaks, make sure you are following them on social to stay in the know with everything that's going on with Arizona's hometown brewery. They've got 4 Peaks, 4 seats going on right now, which means one lucky winner will get 4 seats to an upcoming Diamondbacks game. The tickets also come with D-Bucks, so you can grab some food and an ice-cold Wow Wheat or Hop Knot. To enter, just go to @4peaksbrew on Instagram and check the link in their bio. And once you're there, you're going to have to navigate around on their website to find that page a little bit. But again, make sure you're following them @4peaksbrew or @4peakspub. And you do have to be 21 years or older to drink 4 Peaks, and we ask that you drink responsibly. So one name that was at the top of the list initially, after the Suns had let go of Monty Williams and started their head coaching search, was, of course, Ty Lue. Now, we know that it wasn't a likely possibility because he's still under contract with the Clippers, but it was one of the first names that was reported. And we haven't heard about him in a hot minute. He was not included in any of this reporting update, the coaching update reports. What are you guys giggling at?
Gilbert says,
Gilbert
"See
Damn.
a raspberry buffet."
It's like it's beret.
I don't know
The kind you find at a more furniture store. Anyways,
That one's over my head too. Sorry.
it's Prince.
I don't know that one.
Raspberry beret?
I don't think so.
Damn, homie.
I know Prince, but that
How
particular
do I
song,
know that and you don't?
I don't know. That song is not on my radar. I'm sorry.
Get
Sorry.
cultured.
Anyway, back to Ty Lue. We didn't hear a whole lot from him, but we got something from Stephen A. today on him. Here you go.
They would love to get their hands on Ty Lue, but he still has a year to go on his contract. From what I'm hearing out here in L.A., the Clippers probably wouldn't mind him being gone, but Ty Lue wouldn't mind being gone. They're just not ready to make that move right now. It's anticipated that they'll make it after this upcoming season.
Sorry. So, yeah. Lord have mercy. That was a real quick cut. Anyway, Ty Lue. The situation seems to be unclear as far as what's going on with him and the Clippers. But it seems weird. The one thing that I will say from this is that it's like, so you both are like open to parting ways, but like later on?
Yeah.
Like, why not just let him go now?
They're staying together for the kids.
I mean,
That's basically what it
Look,
is.
PG and Kawhi are here for one more year. Let's just keep it together until they leave, and then we can separate. We'll split things up. All right.
I don't know.
That or they're like, the hell you're going to the Suns. We're holding on to you until at least they sign a new coach.
Yeah.
See, and that just feels messed up. Like,
Oh,
there's
it's-
so many big coaching positions open, and the Clippers are like, nah, we gonna keep you for one more year so that next year you're in a harder position. That's
Yeah.
petty.
That is very petty.
Yes.
That's super petty, though.
Lindsay's like, she's never been in the adult world with that, too. Like, people are petty. Shit gets petty
I
when you're.
know, but my goodness, like, how petty are we gonna be here?
If you told me tomorrow you want to go over to Arizona sports, I'd be going, non-compete clause, all right? People do that shit. That's the way it happens.
No, I'd let her go.
So I was like, get the
I'd let her go, and then I'd call them and be like, dude, you're gonna have this. I'd make shit up.
Wow.
Like, oh,
She doesn't know Prince's raspberry beret. I mean,
I
come
mean,
on.
yeah.
Wow.
She doesn't
She
know
lived in
Prince.
Sierra Vista. I mean,
yeah.
That's just evil. Damn.
But I'm telling it to your face, so you'll know I'm backstabbing you.
That's evil.
Hey, no, that's front stabbing her with the EpiPen, all right?
Exactly. At least Espo's being petty. You're just being evil.
I'm telling you right now, it's the quiet ones you got to worry about.
I don't know, man.
I shanked a lot of people at the Suns, don't
Oh
forget.
my God. No, I do. I just didn't know that one song.
They didn't have Raspberry Beret in Sierra Vista.
Listen, y'all.
They didn't have radio in Sierra Vista.
They only had one radio station. I'm not even freaking kidding.
It was some old dude
We
in
had
his backyard
one
who
radio
spouted conspiracy
station, and
theories.
sometimes you could get one Tucson radio station. Give me a break, you
Oh,
guys.
man. It
And
was just
Triple B
keeps-
is right. If I heard the song, I would likely recognize it. There's a good possibility. Anyway, we're going to leave before we throw any more shade at each other today.
It wasn't shade.
and ruin
Is it shade if
friendships?
you say it to their face? I
Well-
don't think it is.
Well, I don't think I want to know what you're all about anymore, Saul. I think I would rather keep this relationship surface level so that I don't
Lindsay,
get
let me just be
hurt.
the first to say that I don't ever want to lose you. You'll be fine. You're not going anywhere.
Lindsay brought a spoon to an EpiPen fight
She
today.
did.
So.
I
Yes, you did.
I was not prepared.
She was not ready.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. with another show. Until then, you can follow the show on Twitter at PHNX_Suns. You can follow me at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. And of course, you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
You know, if it was she wore a raspberry beanie, you damn well know Lindsay would know this
That's
song.
probably.
Ahoy hoy.
Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsay, Gerald, Espo. Saw past the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always rep the family.